Okay, good evening and welcome back to our Parsha webcast. This week's Parsha is the portion of Toldos. The portion of Toldos picks up the story of Yitzchak. Yitzchak got married in the end last week. This week he has his two children, Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov turns out to be a wonderful ishtam, a complete, sincere person, whereas Esav became a hunter, a man of the field, a person that turned out to be a very, a big source of anguish to Yitzchak and Rivka. He did not behave and follow the ways of Yitzchak. We have the story where he sold his birthright for a bowl of soup, and he degraded the birthright because it meant nothing to him. And Yaakov bought it from him, and later, of course, the Jewish people became the firstborn of God. He refers to them as my firstborn, my child, my firstborn, because God agreed and sealed that sale, so to say. He agreed to the sale and to the purchase of the birthright. There's another few incidents that happened in this portion. There's a whole discussion about the wells that Yitzchak dug, and the Philistines filled up, and he dug them up again, and they filled out, went from one place to the other, and he had an argument with them, and finally they left him alone, and now Yitzchak is a person that lived all his life in Israel. He never left the Holy Land. He was not allowed to leave the Holy Land. God told him, you can't leave. Why was he not allowed to leave? Because he was an Eilah Tmima. He was a sacrifice to God. He was brought up on the altar, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, and he enjoyed a certain holy status that necessitated that he remain in an environment of total holiness, which is the Holy Land of Israel. At the end of the portion, we have the famous incident of when Yitzchak is old and he grows old and goes blind, and he's unable to see, and he realizes his days are near, and he calls in his son Esav to prepare him a good meal, some game, and he told him that if he does this, he'll bless him before he dies. And Esav goes out and fetches him. While he's out doing what he's doing, Rivka quickly takes Yaakov and dresses him in the clothes of Esav and presents him in front of Yitzchak, tells him she prepares this meal quickly and sends Yaakov in the clothing of Esav to receive the blessings from Yitzchak. And that caused a tremendous animosity from Esav towards Yaakov, and to the point where Yaakov was forced to leave Israel and go and stay with his uncle. The name is Lavan, Rivka's brother, who we met last week in the portion, and he's told now by his mother and father to go to Lavan and live there until Esav calms down, and when he does, because Esav wanted to kill him, he plotted to kill Yaakov, his brother. And Rivka was notified. She got wind of this, and perhaps through prophetic vision, and she advised Yaakov to leave, and he left. Then at the end of the portion, we read that. Now, before I get to the end of the portion, now these blessings, of course, that Yitzchak bestowed upon Yaakov, were indeed the blessings of Avraham. And that was the person that received those blessings was the person that would be the continuation of Avram's legacy and Yitzchak's legacy. And that, of course, went over into Yaakov's hands to the Jewish people. Esav got his own blessings, but it was too late. And the blessings, the main blessings, were given over to Yaakov, to the father of the Jewish people. At the end of the portion, I want to read this to you. When Esav saw, because what happened was when Yitzchak told Yaakov to leave and to go to Choron to his uncle, he told him that he shouldn't take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, for the Canaanite women. So when Esav saw that these women of the Canaanites were not good, they were evil in the eyes of his father Yitzchak, so Esav went to Yishmael. He went to the place where Yishmael was, and he married the daughter of Yishmael. And this daughter's name was Machalat. And he was his cousin, because Yishmael is Yitzchak's brother. So Yishmael was Esav's uncle, and therefore his daughter Machalat was Esav's first cousin. So he married his first cousin, who was the daughter of Yishmael, who was the son of Avraham. And the Pasuk says that he married her. I'm going to read this to you. So Esav went to Yishmael and took Machalat, the daughter of Yishmael, the son of Avraham, sister of Nevayot. In addition to his wives, he took her as a wife for himself. So that, in a nutshell, is a synopsis of the portion of Toldos, and it's just basically the whole story of Yitzchak. There's 3 portions of the story of Avraham, 6 portions of the story of Yaakov, and there's 1 portion that's dedicated to the story of Yitzchak. Now, I want to zero in on this last verse of the portion. The story that Esav marries the daughter of Yishmael, this woman by the name of Machalat. And I'm going to read to you a Rashi here. Rashi says, as I quoted to you the verse, it says of it that he went into Yishmael, married Machalat, the daughter of Yishmael, and he took her as a wife in addition to his other wives. So Rashi picks up on that word, in addition to his other wives, and he says the following: he added wickedness upon his wickedness. For Hosif Rish'a al Rishato. He added wickedness upon his wickedness. For why? Where does he see this? For he did not divorce the first ones. Strange Rashi, no? What does this mean? First of all, who is this woman Machalat? When you read this Rashi, how does it sound to you? That she was a bad woman?
No.
What is it? With this Rashi, he added wickedness upon his wickedness, for he did not divorce his first ones.
Well, obviously.
Why would he have to divorce the other ones when he marries this one? It's not like this, as if polygamy was.
He married the last one to make happy his father.
Yeah.
So why will he keep the other ones who makes him unhappy?
Oh, so you're saying that. So the question is like this. So in truth is, if that's the case, he's saying a reasonable answer, that he married, you're trying to marry Machalat because, you want to please your father. That was the whole idea, because he saw that the women of Canaan were not good. So he added over here, so Rashi says he added wickedness upon his wickedness, that he did not divorce the first ones. First of all, Machalat herself was a good woman.
Well, obviously she was wicked. If it says she was wicked.
Where does it say she was wicked?
It describes her as being wicked on top of wicked. So all of
them. No.
Wicked.
That's talking about Esav. It says that he married Machalat, who was the daughter of Yishmael, in addition to the other wives. So what Rashi is saying, what do you have to tell me in addition to the other wives? We know he was married to other women before. It said that already before. So what's the point of the pasuk, the verse making that point here? So he says, because we want to show you that he added wickedness upon his wickedness. That means What does it mean in addition to his other wives? Because he should have divorced the other wives, and he didn't. So he's now a double wicked person, to say so. Why double? Okay, so that's my question. Machalas, we don't know who Machalas is over here. The Rashi doesn't tell us about her much, nor does the Torah. We don't know who this woman is. All we know that she is from Yishmael's descendants, which in Esav's estimation was a way of making Yitzchak happy.
Her name means
so
illness,
that's not
no?
wicked. One second, what?
Her name means illness, no? Machalat?
No, Machalat.
Spelled differently?
No, it's not. It doesn't mean wickedness. I'll explain to you soon what it means. But I'm trying to emphasize the question over here. What wickedness did he add upon his other wickedness? You want to tell me he didn't divorce his bad wives. That's one wickedness. But the fact that he took Machalas is not a wickedness. That was a good thing.
But if she was good, he is mixing her with the bad. So
he's mixing her with the bad.
Yeah, with
so
the
that's
bad wife.
okay. Fine. So that's the first. So that's I understand that wickedness. He should have divorced the other ones. But what's the double wickedness? Okay. First of all, let me tell you what the Medrash says. Medrash says an interesting thing over here. One opinion is that Machalas was a very righteous, a good woman. In fact, her name indicates that. The word Machalas means forgiveness, Mechila, from the word Mechila. Mechila, and forgiveness, because this was, he thought about doing tshuva, of repenting, and that he should get forgiveness for all his sins, and that was through marrying this woman, which also had that name Machalas, which indicated that concept. So this was a good woman, and he was thinking about doing the right thing. Actually, when he married her, he had a moment where he was thinking of turning his life around and and he should have therefore divorced the other women, but he didn't. And that's why there's an opinion in the Medrash that says that he had no good thoughts. Because if he would have had good thoughts, he should have divorced the other women, which were terrible. Now, these other women were terrible. The Pasuk tells us earlier in the portion that they caused Yitzchak to go blind. Because they would offer incense to the idols, and the smoke entered into his eyes. This went on all the time, and eventually it got to him, and it ruined his eyes, and he became blind. So there's two opinions in the Medrash whether this was a good marriage or not a good marriage. Well, Rabbi Eliezer says that it was not a good marriage, because if it was really trying to be a good man, he would have divorced the others. Okay. And the Medrash therefore says, Rabbi Eliezer says that she was not a good woman. She was not a good woman. And what the Medrash is therefore saying that he added one headache to his father in addition to all the other headaches that he gave to his father. So he has these terrible wives, and now he marries this terrible wife, and he adds upon another headache to his father, another pain, another infliction, another agmat nefesh, he's now distressed over his son doing another terrible
How many wives total?
A few.
So a bunch of women wanting to get all high with incense all together.
Some of them were idol worship. I don't know if all
like
of them
horrible
did.
time.
Yeah, they used to do that. That was very common. They did that. And that's what it was. So now, let's go back to Rashi a minute. Rashi, however, interprets this whole thing a little different. Rashi is not of the opinion that Machalas was a bad woman. In fact, he doesn't talk about Machalas at all. He's talking about Esav. From the Medrash, it sounds like that he added one wickedness over the other, like they were terrible, wicked, and he added another wicked woman according to that second opinion. But even though Rashi says those words, he added wickedness upon wickedness, it's not talking about the wife. Rashi is talking about Esav himself. that he was not only wicked, but this marriage, he has a double wickedness. What was the double wickedness? Because he should have divorced those other women. What does it mean by this? So let me tell you, I'm going to share with you an insight that the Rebbe, in a Sikha, discusses at length, and it's brilliant. It's a whole new understanding of this whole situation. The problem with Esav was one problem. Esav was a person that tried to fool his father into making him think that he was a good man. He was a very bad person, but he was always trying to fool his father into thinking, no, I'm a good guy. What did they call him? He was two-faced. Tzavua. How do you say tzavua?
Colored.
No, it's tatzavua.
Tzavua means colored because you change colors like a chameleon.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. So that's the reason. It's like, it's one thing to know who your enemy is. Another thing who's a guy that just shows himself to be a friend, but he's an enemy and stabs behind the back. That's a whole different kind of enemy. That's a problem. That's a real problem. I can deal with the people that I know hate me. So there's a slogan like that. I'll deal with with those that my enemies. I'll deal with. God, please, to take care of my friends. Those that show themselves as to be my friends, but they're really my enemies. Now, the Medrash says that Esav acted like a pig. What is a pig? A pig. The Torah enumerates 4 animals that are not kosher. 3 of them don't have cloven hooves, don't have split hooves, but they chew their cud. But then the other one, the pig, the hog, he does not chew its cud, but he has cloven hooves. Right. So what is what is this pig? Why is the pig the epitome of a non-kosher animal? It's not any more treif than a camel, or a horse, or a dog, or any other non-kosher. It's just the same. Why is when you ask someone what's the epitome of non-kosher meat? A pig, pork. Why? There's a reason for it. Because there's something about the pig that's worse than any other animal. The pig is the only non-kosher animal who's non-kosher on the inside, but he looks kosher on the outside. He doesn't chew its cud. That's something that's on the inside. But the kosher sign inside he doesn't have. He's treif on the inside. He looks kosher on the outside. So what does he do? He sticks out his cloven hooves. He shows everyone, look, I'm kosher. But he's not.
So he's deceiving.
He's deceiving. With savua. He presents himself to be a good person, a good kosher animal, but it's a treif animal. Because inside, she is treif. The other non-kosher animals, they're kosher on the inside, but not on the outside. Those are the 3. Then there are those that are none. They're not kosher, not inside it. They don't chew their cud, and they don't have cloven hooves. But the pig is that type of person. So Rashi, so when Yitzchak married the other women, he married his first wives. He presented them... Esav, sorry. He brought them to Yitzchak, and he showed them off to Yitzchak as being... he presented them in a good light, even though they were idol worshippers, they were terrible people. He would always try to fool Yitzchak, make himself look like a tzaddik when he was really a wicked Russian. What does he do now at the end of his life? Now he really marries a good woman. He marries a kosher woman. Right. This Machalat was a kosher woman, a good woman. her name was Machalat because she represented the fact that she was going to bring, she brought in a sense of goodness, that the forgiveness, and that God will forgive Esav for all his sins because of this woman. She represented goodness. And she truly was. The general feeling, at least from Rashi's standpoint, was that she was a good woman. That's the understanding of who Machalat was. So what's wrong here? Wow. So why does Rashi say that with this marriage, he added one wickedness on top of the other? That means Esav. Not that he brought in another wicked woman over the other wicked woman, because this woman was not wicked. She was a good woman. But he was more, this presented a double wickedness on his part. Why? Because what is he doing over here? He's taking a good, he marries a good woman.
And he's ruining her.
No, he's not ruining her. Why does he marry a good woman? Because he sees that his father doesn't like the Canaanite woman. So he goes now and wants to show his father, I'm a good man. So he goes and marries a good woman. So he takes goodness itself in order to hide his real wickedness. So in the first case with the other women, they weren't good. He lied. He made them look good. Yeah, he was fooling them. Over here, he really took a good woman. He used a good woman.
Like a pig.
And so if you marrying a good woman, because you want to do tshuva, satisfy your father, make your father happy with you, then what should he have done? Divorce the other woman? Sure. If you really taken that step forward, then you should. If that was what this was all about, then that's why Rashi continues. He should have divorced all the other women.
So by not doing that,
Rashi says, "Wow, this is a really evil person." He's taking a real good woman to make his father think that he's a good person. He's using a good woman to hide hide his true identity, which is idol worship and murder and all the other terrible things that he was engaged in. So it's a double wickedness. In this marriage itself, it's a double wickedness. Not, he had these other terrible women, and now he brings in another terrible woman. No, that's not what happened over here. We're not talking about the other woman. We're talking about this woman. Look what a terrible deed this is. So this is the worst kind of individual. Someone that makes himself look good, but he really isn't. And he uses every opportunity. He'll showcase himself as a good person. He'll marry a tzaddikis to get everyone thinking, wow, look who he marries, he's a wonderful person, you must be a tzaddik.
But inside he's right.
But he's not. He does that only to hide his true identity. He wants to be a wicked person, but he wants everyone to think he's a good person. It's one thing if you want to hide your wickedness. I'm a wicked person. I don't want you to know that I'm wicked, so I don't tell you. I clandestinely, I do it in hiding. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a what do you call it? What's the word for tzavua? He's
two-faced.
Two-faced. There's a word for it. I forget.
Conniving, you can say.
He's not honest. He's a deceiving person. He's bad, but no one knows it. That's one level of bad. Another level of bad is he's a terrible person. But when people are around, he takes out a book and shows everyone that he's learning. And he's doing mitzvahs. The learning is in order to hide his true identity. See, it's a double. It's a double.
Really a lie. He's lying.
He's lying to everyone. It's a double lie.
Right.
It's one thing if you're not telling me that you're evil. Okay. You're hiding your evil. You're two-faced. You're not real. It's interesting that there's a fantastic lesson over here for every person. I mean, that was what Esav was all about. But it's interesting that we have the character of Esav appears in this portion and the next in two portions again. I'll sum it up in the following way. Yitzchak and Yaakov had to deal with deceivers, connivers all the time. You'll remember you're going to see it in next week's portion. Yaakov ends up leaving, running away. And where does he end up? In Lavan's house. Who was Lavan? One of the worst liars that the world ever seen. I mean, this guy could not tell the truth if he wanted to. Yaakov could never. He was impossible. It says that Yaakov had to. They made a contract of employment. He changed it 10 times on him. They changed it 10 times. You can't try. The guy was such a liar. It was truly unbelievable.
Some say it's 100 times.
Huh?
Some of them say he changed 100 times. It says 10 times.
Times 10, yeah. Sometimes some say 100. You're right. So here we have an interesting thing. You have Yaakov has to deal with Lavan. Who is Lavan? He's a liar. So you have to uncover his lie. He's dealing with a lie. But Lavan is not presenting himself. There's 3 types of evil. Let's sum it up this way. Let's put an order into this. There's 3 types of evil. There's Al-Qaeda. They make no bones about it. They tell you we hate America, we hate the Jewish people, and we're out to kill everyone. So it's evil. A very strong form of evil. But they're not lying to you. So you know what you're dealing with. That evil is not as hard to do away with. That evil is not that hard to do away with. You need a strong army. You need smart people to get them where it hurts and destroy them. That evil was the way Esav dealt with Yaakov. Esav dealt with Yaakov that way. You're going to see in 2 portions from now, Yaakov and Esav have it out. They have it out. What happens there? Yaakov is trying to save himself. Esav wants to kill Yaakov. Yaakov knows he wants to kill him. He's not hiding behind a smile. He knows he wants to kill him. So Yaakov has to prepare for war. He knows what to do. He knows how to deal with it. How long did it take Yaakov to undo Esav in that confrontation?
20 years.
1 day. Esav, not Lavan. Oh, talking about Esav. 1 day. The whole thing was over in 1 day. He came over. Yaakov was prepared. Esav comes over to him, and he realizes he ain't going to win Yaakov. They make up. Truly make up. This thing was over. This problem was over. In 1 day.
This is where the angels fall. Where they fall.
Yeah. But it's all 1 day. It happens 1 night and 1 day. The problem came and went. Because he was dealing with an enemy that he can identify who wasn't trying to hide behind a smile. What about Yaakov and Lavan? How long does it take Yaakov to outsmart Lavan to win that war, to win that battle? 20 years. He's in Lavan's house, just trying to get and to work out that evil, to overpower, to that holiness can overpower that level of evil. It's a much worse evil, because Lavan is lying to you. He he doesn't make himself he's not in the open. He's your friend. In the open, he's not, maybe not your friend, but he's not your enemy. He's lying to him. He's a deceiver. Esav was at least honest in his hatred to Yaakov. That evil is not such a bad evil, and therefore can be destroyed in 1 day. With the right attitude, with the right ammunition, with the right power, you get rid of it. Because you know what you're dealing with. It's not such a deep level of evil. Let's talk on the spiritual level now. When you have to battle forces of evil. The force of Yaakov against Esav is an easy one. In a sense. I mean, nothing is easy, but, he does it in 1 day. Whereas in the story of Yaakov and Lavan, this is a whole different story. This is a 20-year battle. Because this is an evil that is hidden and mixed in with good. What is it mixed in with good? He's not openly your enemy. An evil that you have to extract from the good and separate and work out and find and identify and identify the good and much harder. So in the bigger picture, it takes 20 years of Yaakov's life to undo that evil and to work it out and be ready to go back to Israel with all his kids, with all his money, with all his possessions. He was able to decipher the good from the evil and got rid of it. But then you have the way Esav dealt with Yitzchak.
All his life.
What?
He took all his life.
Who took all his life?
Yitzchak took all his life instead of those 20 years to deal with Esav. No? I mean, if he's dying and he's marrying with a good woman just to look good in his final days, it's not like instead of 20 years, Yitzchak is like taking all his life to deal with Esav.
So you're only proving my point.
Yeah.
In the evil that Yitzchak, the evil of Esav, we said that Esav, in his relationship with Yaakov, was an open enemy. He didn't disguise himself. He was an open enemy. Esav towards Yitzchak was even worse than Lavan towards Yaakov. We said that Lavan towards Yaakov was worse than Esav towards Yaakov, right? Because Lavan was a deceiver. Esav was even a bigger deceiver than Lavan towards Yitzchak. When it came to his relationship with Yitzchak, that was the worst. Because over here, not only did he deceive him, but he put out his two kosher who's like a pig. He's not only a negative person and hiding. Okay, I'm not going to show my father that I'm a bad person. In front of him, I won't do any evil. So he'll think I'm not a bad boy. But he does much worse. In front of him, he's doing mitzvahs. He's marrying tzaddikim. He's marrying a righteous woman so that Yitzchak thinks he did tshuva. In other words, this is a person he's utilizing goodness in the service of evil. This is much harder than dealing with Yaakov. With Lavan. Lavan is a liar, but he's not using Torah itself and goodness itself and good character traits to disguise his evil. He's not openly your enemy, so he's doing it in hiding, but he's not showing to you that he's your best ally either. By Esav and Yitzchak, it was such an evil. It was a double evil. So Rashi says, Hosif Risha al Rishato. He added his one wickedness over his other wickedness. He should have divorced those other women. What do you mean you should have divorced those other women? Why did you take this righteous woman? Because you're doing tshuva. If you were doing tshuva, you should have divorced them. Oh, you weren't, you didn't divorce them. So now what the story is really about is he's utilizing a good woman, showing off to do a big mitzvah, so he can disguise his terrible negative behavior. How terrible is that? I'll just give you an example from without getting into trouble. But the Talmud, the Rashi quotes the Medrash in the story of Pinchas, that they accused Pinchas of being a terrible person. Comes from a terrible... killed Zimri then, right? So what did they say? Who are you to kill Zimri? Who was your grandfather?
Fattening of cows.
He fattened calves for idol worship, so to be able to slaughter fat calves for idol. What is the meaning of that? You feed the cow, the calf. You're giving them food. You're giving them. You're presenting yourself as if you're trying to give them and feed them and make them better. But the whole purpose is to destroy them. This is what Esav was. He was a hog. he presented his kosher clothes, his kosher hoofs. Look, Father, I'm a kosher man, I'm a tzaddik, I give tithes, I give tzedakah, I do this, I do that. It was all to disguise, to deceive his father into making him think that I'm a good person. So he uses goodness against goodness.
The rabbis don't think he loved his father at all?
He loved his father. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a terrible liar. But more than a liar, he used good itself to extract, to undo that damage. That takes
But don't you think
a very,
he saw a
very
way
long
through
time.
that?
So did not. Or at least
He wanted to believe that his...
Yeah, so there's a whole
Like
interesting
your son,
interpretation. There's a whole interesting interpretation, especially in Kabbalah. Why did Yisroel want to bless you, Esav? Because he knew that he knew he was a noble.
Right.
But he saw his potential. He saw his source. It says that the source of Esav comes from a much higher source in the spiritual realm than even Yaakov. He comes from Toyu, the world of a higher world than that of Yaakov. He was trying to give him the blessing that blessing should, because if you think about it, out of Esav comes some good came out of Esav. We have some good converts that came from Esav. Unculus, others.
Unculus came from...
Yeah, from Edom, from Rome. Yeah, Rome is Esav. So, some good is there. But Yitzchak was trying to bless him, to extract that good within Esav itself, so that he, not only generations later, a convert comes from, he himself becomes a mensch. And if he becomes a mensch, then we're really in good shape, because he brings his source is even greater. But Esav wasn't about to that wasn't about to happen, and Rivka understood that, so she did this whole scheme. But the point I'm trying to make is that in order to fight off such a deceiving person, who's using Torah and mitzvahs, who's using goodness to disguise his true character, which is horrible, means he wants to be a terrible person. His real love is with those other women, but he's bringing into his house a tzaddikus to present himself. Look, I am a big Baal Tshuva, I did great things, in order that he should be able to sin with those women. Imagine that terrible. That's an evil that takes as long as, that takes forever, to undo that. You want to hear something interesting? That battle is going on till today. The battle against that evil is going on till today. What's the last exile? The Jews went into 4 exiles. First one was Egypt. Second one was Babylonia. The third one was Greece. The story of Hanukkah was with the Greeks. And the fourth one is Rome. Edom. Who Esav Avi Edom, says the Pasuk, the next 2 weeks from now. Esav is the father of Edom. We're still in the exile of Edom. This exile that's lasted for 2,000 years is the exile of Edom. It never ends. I mean, it's going to end when Mashiach comes. But it's going on for 2,000 years already. You know why? Because this is the worst evil that has to be extracted and gotten rid of. And to decipher such evil from such deceiving people who use good itself for their evil schemes, this is a 2,000-year process.
World of opposites.
It's one thing that you want to be wicked, and you tell the world you're wicked. I like to be, to enjoy life. That's who I am. And don't leave me alone. I take off my yarmulke, I take off my tzitzis. I don't want to have anything to do with this restricted life, as you said before. I'm out. I want to be wicked or sinful, and I'm going to show it. I'm not looking to deceive anyone. Yeah, sure. That's Edom, Rome. That's where it comes from. Then there's a person who's not openly wicked. He does his wickedness behind closed doors. So you don't know him. You meet such a person. I don't know if I trust you, not trust you. It takes time to figure this guy out. A person that tells me I'm evil and that's who I am, right away. You don't trust him. He's a sinful person. Whatever. He's a person that doesn't tell you that he's evil, but he is evil. Okay, so I have to figure him out. Takes time. Takes 20 years. But a person that puts on a white beard, that puts on a black hat, a shtrein, or a black hat with pays, with a kapota on Shabbos, with tzitzis, he's inviting people over to his house for guests, for Shabbos. But his whole life is corruption, and terrible behavior. This is the world that we're in. Not God forbid. I don't mean that with Jews. There's not that many of those, I'm sure. But the world at large is that part. It's a world that sticks out its cloven hooves. It says, I'm a good person. When deep down, it's rotten from the core. And they use that goodness to hide the bad. They'll buy their wife a gift, an expensive gift, so she should think that the man really loves her, while he is everywhere else. God forbid. Imagine that sinfulness. It's one thing you're not interested, you don't come home, and you're left. You're neglecting your house, and you're everywhere else. Okay, so the wife can see. Wait, what's going on? It's not right. He's not coming home on time. There's something wrong. No, there's a guy that comes home on time. He spends time with his wife. He buys her gifts, takes her on vacations. To hide his real other life. There's a sin in that second to none. The sin in that is worse than any other sin. You're smiling to me and buying me gifts to show me how much I am. He's marrying a tzaddikus. He's marrying Machalas. In order to Allah, his father should think he's a good person. He doesn't look at him deep. He doesn't go beyond the surface so that he can go later and all week be a Rosh. That's the world we live in today. It's a world of deception. Eilam HaSheker, it's a world of deception. That's an evil that it's taken forever to undo, to crack, to break. Because if you don't get rid of every level of evil in this world, Mashiach can't come. It's when evil is being covered with Avedis Hashem, with a person that appears to be serving God. Oh, that's an evil, that's the worst. That's the worst.
That's why you have to be real.
That's the lesson of this Rashi, by the way. The Rebbe takes one Rashi, looks in with a magnet, flies into the words. Risha al Rishase, his wickedness, not her wickedness. In the Medrash, they're arguing whether she was wicked. No, Rashi said, no, she was good. And that made him, that's the proof that he was such an evil person. Because had he not been such an evil person, he would have divorced his other wives. So this is a double wickedness. Not only are you not good, and you're not telling me, but you're acting good so that I should think you're good, while you're using all that in order to be an evil person. Your true character. This is the exile that we're in, my friends. This is Golus Edom. The exile of Edom, the exile of deception. Where people use good, they act as if they're good, doing it in order so that you should think they're good, so you don't look behind their back, you don't examine them so that they can be the worst people in the world. That's already, the good is captured by the evil. It's a whole different problem. So how do you get that good out of the evil?
Manipulate.
That's taking us very, very long. So Esav was that. That's who Esav was. Esav had two sides to it. Because Yaakov, he was open. I hate you, and that's it. It's much better. It's much better.
It's out in the open.
It's out in the open. I know my problem. I can deal with it. In one day, he deals with it. The second level of evil is lover, who's not telling you he hates you, but he's also not telling you he loves you. He's just covering his bad. Okay. So it takes time to figure this guy out. Eventually you get him, 20 years. The third level is Esav as he dealt with Yitzchak. Oh, this is the worst. He's presenting as not only is he hiding his evil, not only is he not telling you I'm evil, not only is he hiding his evil, but he's hiding it behind righteousness, behind a woman like Machalat. Oh, this is the worst. That's not 20 years, that's not one day, that's not 20 years, that's the last exile, that's 2,000 years. But we will win. We will get rid of this deception. The truth will sprout forth from the ground. But that's the lesson of it. The biggest lesson is, and And I remember growing up, one of the most important lessons our mentors used to tell us was to be everything, but not a two-faced person. Two-faced is the worst. You become so corrupt within, you can't even help yourself anymore after that. That's the worst thing. You want me to help you be good? I'll help you. Tell me you're bad, I'll get rid of it. I'll help you to be good. But don't tell me you're good when you're really bad. Oh, this is the worst. That's what we're working on the last 2,000 years. This is the Golus Edom, the Golus of Rome. Rome is that. Rome is that. That's Esav.
All Europe now.
The whole world, not only Europe, but America, the whole world basically. Or the West. What we call Rome. What came from, serving God. It's all in the name of God. Right? Aren't we familiar with that? Mm-hmm. In the name of God, we're killing everyone.
Right.
It's evil disguised by holiness. This is what God wants. Imagine that. They present themselves to be good. The whole. That's one level of it. Then there's another level of it. They don't tell you that. See, those are the people that are killing in the name of God. You know they're killing. So you have to have a little smart. You know this is a bunch of baloney. There's nothing good about that. It's people they don't even know, they're not telling you they're killing. They present us as the nicest people. All these, you have a dime a dozen, all these organizations out there that are collecting money for the poor, right? In the Muslim countries. What is that money going for?
Bullets.
It's all good activity. They get tax deductions, they get everything. This is the 501c3s left, right, and center. They're doing good work. They're collecting money in the houses of worship. And people are giving. They're disguising their terrorist activity behind tzedakah. Imagine the evil of that. It's much worse than any other enemy. That's what we have to crush. We have to first crush it within ourselves. We have to first crush because we all suffer from that deception. A little bit in our own life. We have to find that where we're trying to present ourselves as different than what we really are.
The Palestinians made a Juno. They made a Juno to Israel. The Palestinians.
They made a what? A tunnel, yeah, I know.
With the cement, they used to give it for the houses.
Yeah. It's all humanitarian aid. All the trucks coming in, humanitarian aid.
Yeah.
The flotillas, the peace, what they call it? The boat of peace, yeah. It's all, the whole peace movement. The whole peace movement in the whole world today. Human rights and all that. It's anti-Semitism disguised in flowery, beautiful words. What's at the core of it? Anti-Jewish attitude. Simple anti-Semitism, old-fashioned anti-Semitism, but Hitler set it straight. We knew it was an enemy. God forbid we should never have a Hitler again. But we knew it was an enemy. But when a person comes and says humanitarian, human rights, the peace, he uses all kinds of fancy words, and what behind all that is simple, old-fashioned anti-Semitism. That's a worse enemy than anything else. That's the Esav as he dealt with Yitzchak. He shows up with a Machalat one day. Humanitarian, human rights. What's behind it is idol worship of women. Is anti-Semitism. That's what we're dealing with today. All these in the universities. We're dealing with this problem, my friends, today. That is today's enemy. Make no mistake, that's a real problem. Now, this is not only true in the outside world, as I said. We suffer from this in our own relationship with other people as well. We're not always honest with who we are. So we have to fix that within ourselves, and then we can go or simultaneously, however you want to do it. But we have to become honest and true with ourselves and with others. That will undo the evil in the world. If we become true in our own lives, the whole world will follow suit. It will break the evil of this terrible evil in the world at large, which we are faced with it everywhere today. You see, Yasser Arafat, in the beginning, in 1967, the 70s, He said, I hate the Jews, and that's it. Everyone knew he hated the Jews. But then he got smart. So what do I have to say? I hate the Jews. Let me say I love them. And get a Nobel Peace Prize for it. But behind the scenes, raise a generation of suicide bombers. So that smile, that peace prize, that whole talk, that rhetoric is Machalas. That's Machalas. That's Esav hanging up a Machalas. She's righteous. He's using righteousness for everything that is the opposite of righteousness. That's what's happening today in the world. They're using all the great words, human rights, women's equality, all the beautiful things that we know of. And I'm not equating, not everything goes and falls into the same pot. But this is a deception of the worst kind. It's a deception of the worst kind. And my friends, unfortunately, our governments are all falling for it. They're all falling for it.
It's growing rather
It's a disaster around the country and around the world. It's a disaster. But Yitzchak is going to win at the end. There's no doubt about that. Esav is running wild, but Yitzchak will win at the end. Because at the end, Esav it's Yaakov wins, Yitzchak wins. We'll win this battle. But that's why it's taking so long. It's a whole different kind of evil that has to be dealt with. So let's go deal with it.